could gather around and let's get started. Good morning, everyone.
We got to give you some backdrop.
Yeah, we need a few.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we'll get.
We're bringing Matt here.
That's right. Get the really important people behind me, and that's going to get everyone's attention.
Thanks for being here.
Great. Now, Willard, please come join us as well. Fantastic. Welcome, everyone, on this beautiful spring morning. My name is Daley. I'm President and CEO of American Forests, and we are so excited to be here today to launch an incredible new partnership with our friends at the Washington State Department of Natural Resources and the City of Seattle and a whole constellation of other partners who are rallying together a truly unprecedented statewide effort to create tree equity here in Washington State. So I want to put this in context a little bit. I want to talk about what do we mean by tree equity and why is it important. And here's the deal. Here in Washington State and across America, a map of trees in our cities is also a map of income, and it's a map of race in ways that transcend income. Now, we proved this. American Forest created something called Tree Equity Score, and we mapped every urban neighborhood in America, and we showed these systemic inequities of trees with truly dangerous consequences. For example, neighborhoods with the majority of people of poverty in America have on average 41% less tree cover. Here in Washington State, there are about 2 million people who live in neighborhoods that have less than half of the amount of tree cover that we should expect to find there. So we really have to solve these systemic inequities of tree cover, because this isn't just scenery that we're talking about. Trees are critical green infrastructure for our communities, especially in the face of climate change. Just consider that a neighborhood without trees can be more than 20 degrees hotter at peak. Now, on those hotter days that are coming with climate change, like the incredible heat dome event that we saw here in Washington State in 2021, you add an extra 20 degrees to your neighborhood, and imagine that you're a low-income person living in a home that doesn't have air conditioning or we can't afford to run it all day. That's a life or death issue. Trees have other critical health benefits as well. We know that rates of asthma and other respiratory diseases are higher in neighborhoods that don't have trees. So this isn't just an environmental issue. This isn't just a climate change issue. I would suggest this is a moral imperative for us as a country, for us here in Washington State, to bring the healing benefits of trees equitably to every neighborhood. Now, here's some good news. In fixing this disastrous tree inequity that we have, we can create incredible opportunity and bring our communities closer together. We've done research that shows that we can create 25.7 direct, indirect, and induced jobs for every $1 million that we invest in this work of growing and planting and caring for trees. And we can make sure that those jobs are opportunities are going to the people in our communities who need them the most. And there's an opportunity for everyone to participate. There are ways that citizens and volunteers, even young children, can participate in doing this work. So it's a real opportunity to bring our communities together in bringing the healing benefits of trees to every neighborhood. But look, it's critical that we get the details right. The details of community engagement, so we're doing this with communities, not to communities. That we get the forestry details right. Climate change is putting incredible stress on our trees and forests all across Washington State and across America. And so we have to make sure that we're planting the right species of trees, we're caring for them in the right way, so those trees will be resilient into the future and be able to provide those benefits for us that are sustained over time. And so that's why we're here today to announce, again, an unprecedented partnership, the Washington State Tree Equity Collaborative. So we can bring together all the different actors who need to do this work, state and city leaders, community-based organizations like some of the ones that you'll meet here today, businesses of all kinds, from national and global companies based here in Washington State to local businesses as well. And again, a role for individual citizens to participate in this work. Bring all those folks together to gain access to the best tools and techniques for doing this work, to find more effective ways to partner together, to better access funding to scale up this work. And so let's just be clear, this is not a debating society. This isn't just pulling together people to talk to each other. This new Washington State Tree Equity Collaborative is going to be about where the rubber meets the road. And that's about ultimately expanding tree cover in the neighborhoods that need it the most, the ones that are systemically underserved. And it is going to be about making sure that we have the most outstanding techniques and that we're maintaining those trees and forests in a healthy state into the future. So one of the things that we're really excited to do as part of supporting the Washington State Tree Equity Collaborative is to take our tree equity score. You see some visuals for tree equity score here, and that data that I talked about that tells us where we need to do this work the most. We're going to be providing an extension of that tree equity score tool here in Washington State so we can apply that data all the way down to the level of individual properties, making sure that as different organizations and city leaders are doing this work across Washington State, we can be as precise as possible in expanding tree cover and making sure that we're taking care of our trees and prioritizing those efforts to the neighborhoods and even the individual properties that need them the most. And so ultimately, a couple of goals to keep in mind. If with just another 2.6 million trees, we have the opportunity to bring every single neighborhood across Washington State up to a standard of a tree equity score of 75. With an additional 13 million trees, we could bring every neighborhood in Washington State up to a score of 100, bringing incredible benefits, health and other benefits to people all across the state. So now I'd like to introduce our quarterback for this effort, the amazing Commissioner of Public Lands here in Washington State, Hilary Franz. Now, she needs no introduction to this group. You know that since she was elected in 2017, she's been doing an absolutely incredible job driving protection of Washington State's forests, driving restoration and stewardship to totally new heights, including across the 6 million acres of state lands here in Washington State, and expanding tree cover, including in cities. So instead of reminding you of all the things that you probably already know, that you've seen here in action in Washington State, I just want to put her leadership in national perspective, because the way that she's gone about doing this, we think is really a model for the country. That the approach that Washington State has employed under Commissioner Franz's leadership has left no forest behind, it's left no community behind. It's been everything from tree equity in cities to dealing with communities that are they're being confronted with the effects of wildfire in rural areas. That she's been relentless in following the science, including climate science, not in an ideological way, but in a focused and science-based way to develop strategies for how we can get it right. Things like how we reduce wildfire risk, whatever the science leads us to do to help those forests become more resilient to climate change. And now taking our urban forestry efforts here in Washington State and using data and science to drive tree equity forward in unprecedented new ways. And I think one thing that's been particularly notable is her ability to communicate these complicated issues in ways that lots of people can understand. And so we can build unprecedented public and political coalitions to come together and take action, whether it's new legislation and funding through Washington State, or whether it's galvanizing local action and collaboration at unprecedented scales. And so that's why when I started as CEO at American Forest and we launched a new Forest Resilience Champion Award, and we looked all across the country and we said we need to pick one leader to be our paradigm for holistic science-based forest leadership in America. We chose Commissioner Franz to be our first honoree of our Forest Resilience Champion Award. That when we were working with the U.S. Climate Alliance, with states across the country that are trying to employ these kinds of strategies, again, we went to Washington State and we said, please be our model that we can use to show other states how to turn their forests into a climate action powerhouse. And when we worked with the World Economic Forum to launch a global platform to help folks around the world figure out how to advance these kinds of efforts. Again, we came to Washington State and brought Washington State in as a partner to make a pledge to OneT.org and ultimately to be our model for science-based, inclusive forest leadership here in the state and ultimately how it should be done all across the world. So with that said, let me introduce Commissioner Hilary Franz. Thank you.
Thank you, Jad. I
I just have to say you have been a mentor and a role model in your organization, and how you're leading it across the country in every state and every city and every neighborhood has just been an honor to watch and witness, but also learn. And I'm so excited for this partnership. I'm Hilary Franz, the Commissioner of Public Lands, and today we are announcing a historic partnership between American Forest and Department of Natural Resources to increase the pace and scale of equitable urban forestry in every single neighborhood of Washington State. We've set an ambitious goal, one that has not yet been set nationally, that we will truly ensure that every neighborhood in Washington State achieves true tree equity. It is not going to be a small task in any way, and it is going to take a broad set of partners at the national level, the state level, and the local level. A cornerstone of that partnership, and I'm thrilled to have Mayor Harrell here and Jessyn Farrell, leaders from Seattle who are truly moving that needle here in Seattle and recognizing how imperative it is and how important it is. I also want to thank the other founding members of this, Mayor Willard and the City of Tacoma, who's also taking unprecedented work and trying to truly bring tree equity in the city. The Carl Maxey Center in Spokane, the 300 Trees organization in Bellevue, and Duwamish Alive Coalition here in Seattle. Now, Washington State is known as the evergreen state for its abundance of trees, yet our trees are truly in trouble. Throughout our state, in eastern and western Washington, millions of acres of our forests are dying as a result of drought, insect infestation, and disease, leading to catastrophic wildfires. And unfortunately, the trees that we have in our city and our state are similarly facing huge challenges. Throughout our state and our cities, we're seeing a decline in the health and the number of trees. This is a result of increasing heat and drought, as well as increasing population and development. It is also the result of discriminatory practices that still shape our cities today, and along with income inequality, define who has access to healthy tree canopy and who is surrounded by concrete. Access to clean air, to shade, and green space should be a basic fundamental right. But the fact is, throughout our state, low-income communities and communities of color more often live in neighborhoods with a higher share of concrete surfaces, parking lots, shopping malls, and simply industrial complexes. American forest analysis for parts of Washington State truly prove this. Low-income neighborhoods have 12% less tree canopy than the state average. Neighborhoods with a majority of people of color have 18% less tree canopy than white neighborhoods. Nearly 2 million people, as you heard Jad say, in Washington live in neighborhoods with inadequate tree canopy. These neighborhoods have more paved surfaces like parking lots, roadways, and highways. They have greater air pollution leading to asthma and other health issues, and they absorb and radiate more heat. Anyone who lived in Washington during that 2021 heat dome that settled over the Pacific Northwest remembers the temperatures climbing to over 110 degrees. In neighborhoods with larger community colors and more low income had a 13-degree difference from more wealthy white neighborhoods right here in this city. Where there is heat, there is death. It is true. At DNR, we talk a lot about wildfire. We talk a lot about drought. But the fact is that heat kills more people in the United States than any other extreme weather disaster. And the heat dome claimed more than 100 lives here in Washington State. More than 100 lives. Most of the people who died lived in neighborhoods that lacked trees. We know that with climate change, it is only going to get worse. But we can solve this, and the answer is so simple. It is simply planting more trees and making sure we're planting them in the right places where so many people have too few. We know that trees are essential for quality of life. We all experienced during COVID when we were all sheltered inside, and we looked to the outdoors for our mental, emotional, and physical health. We know that trees truly decrease the temperatures on hot summer days, conserving energy and absolutely saving lives. We know that trees ensure that the air we breathe remains safe and that the water we drink is clean. And we know that trees stop pollution from entering our streams and our waterways that are truly going to improve our endangered salmon and other aquatic species. Trees store carbon pollution as well. And as we see a rapidly changing climate, we can plant more of the tools that are going to sequester that carbon and store it. So to achieve our goal of tree equity in every neighborhood of the state, our partnership with American Forest is huge, bringing the data and the science to every single neighborhood in Seattle and across the state so we can understand where we've got to be planting more trees and how imperative it is that we do. And also so we can understand where we have to maintain the trees we already have here. It's not enough to just plant more trees if at the same time we are losing the pace and scale of the trees we have. So I'm thrilled and super excited about this partnership. When I came into the Department of Natural Resources, we had 2 people in urban forestry for the entire state of Washington. That's less than the city of Tacoma has in the area of urban forestry, and we run the urban forestry program for this state. We have been rapidly working to secure more investments every single year, including last year where we secured several $millions to be able to provide more grants and funding to our local cities. This year we have an unprecedented request in front of the legislature of $8 million, which will help us actually meet the needs that we have right now in this city and across the state. And fortunately, with that, we have secured $6 million from the federal government to help us rapidly accelerate and double down. As I would say, that is just a substantial down payment on the challenges that we have already been facing for over 30 to 50 years in our state. We need to plant, as you heard, 13 million trees to reach a score of 100 tree equity in every neighborhood. And in this emerald city of our state and the evergreen state, we should be able to get there, but it will take all hands on deck. Now, I had the great fortune of growing up in a neighborhood that had trees, the beautiful horse chestnut trees. And I spent every day outside in the summer under those trees, climbing up into them. But to be honest, most of us were playing horse chestnut wars. We grew up every morning, ran out to those trees, we stood underneath, we collected as much horse chestnuts that we could, put them in our buckets, and we pelted each other across the street. Now, I'd like to say that that's made me more adapted to politics and the wars we sometimes face in Olympia. But honestly, what it's really made is it's made me appreciate the importance of our environment, our natural resources, and simply a tree. And I'm here today, we are going to fight to make sure that we are truly making the evergreen state evergreen, not just for the children here, but in the future, even with all the challenges we face around economics and around housing and around climate change. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Jad, and I'm super excited to be partnering with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Boy, are you all lucky to have a leader like that for the state of Washington, and again, someone who's a real leader for the whole country. And I want to put a couple things in, again, in the big picture context. Commissioner Franz shared the incredible news that Washington State was just awarded more than $6 million of new federal funding to support the tree equity work here in Washington State. That is part of a new funding allocation of $1.5 billion that was secured in the Inflation Reduction Act through the U.S. Forest Service's Urban and Community Forestry Program that is going to be helping to advance tree equity efforts like this one all across the country. And in fact, I had the privilege yesterday to be in Newark, New Jersey with Senator Cory Booker, who was a real leader in securing that funding, and representatives from the White House announcing a new funding opportunity of $1 billion that has just now opened up. And so cities and partners across Washington State who are going to be part of this new Tree Equity Collaborative have the opportunity to apply for additional funds to augment the state funds that Commissioner Franz spoke about, and to bring those dollars into supercharging work that's happening here in the state, including right here in the city of Seattle, which is what we're going to get to in a moment. So really, really exciting national groundswell around this work, and an opportunity for Washington State to have unprecedented resources in driving that work forward. So as a way of maybe to segue to Seattle, just to note, that heat dome event might have felt like an outlier, but it's actually unfortunately just a preview of the future. There was a study from Duke University that projects that heat-related deaths in the United States, which are over 12,000 per year already today, could rise to nearly 100,000 people per year by the end of this century if we don't do something. And mind you, creating tree equity is a big part of doing something. So a place like Seattle, which you might have thought about more about putting on your puffy jacket on the colder days during the summer, is going to see a lot more events like that heat dome into the future. And of course, we know folks on the east side of the state in Washington state have long been dealing with the effects of extreme heat as a course of business throughout the summer. So there's real urgency to doing this work, and it's incredibly exciting that the city of Seattle has projected itself as a national leader now to how it's using trees to combat extreme heat, as well as to combat inequities of air pollution and respiratory disease in our communities. So I'm really excited to introduce Jessyn Farrell, the City of Seattle's Director of the Office of Environment and Sustainability, who previously served as a representative in the state legislature. And she's been leading work on a canopy cover assessment here in Seattle to really understand where trees are most needed and to help organize collaboration with local partners as well. So with that said, Jessyn, let me turn it over to you.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here. I know it's chilly, so my remarks will be short. I would just like to say a huge thank you to Commissioner Franz for her amazing leadership both in rural areas in our state and in urban areas. We're so lucky to have her vision and energy as we are really trying to increase our canopy across the state. And I also wanted to thank Mayor Harrell for his leadership. You may be aware that he recently transmitted the strongest tree protection legislation our city has seen, and we're really looking forward to the council passing it. So thank you to Mayor Harrell for your leadership as well. So I'm Jessyn Farrell. I'm the Director of the Office of Sustainability and Environment. We recently completed our city's tree canopy assessment. We undertake this every 6 years. And unfortunately, we have discovered that the Emerald City is slowly losing ground. We have lost 255 acres of trees in the last 6 years. That's an area roughly the size of Green Lake. And overall, that's a 1.7% canopy cover loss. And our goal is to get to 30% canopy cover loss equitably distributed across the city. I'm going to talk about a couple of specific findings because I think it's important for our work going forward. Number one, Commissioner Franz referenced, and also Jad from American Forests, that our tree infrastructure is inequitably distributed, and we see that in the city of Seattle. So those neighborhoods that have experienced structural racism, that have experienced economic disinvestment, which closely scans with race and economic status, not only started with less canopy, but lost more canopy in these last 6 years. So while the overall canopy cover loss was 1.7%, some neighborhoods saw even greater loss, like Rainier Valley, like some of our industrial neighborhoods like Georgetown. So we really need to turn that around. The second thing, of course, is climate change is a big theme. And we also found that for every increase of 5% of canopy cover, we also saw a 1% degree of cooling. So literally we see on the ground where there is more canopy cover, it is actually cooler. And so we need to be investing in canopy cover as we are struggling to adapt with the increasingly dangerous impacts of climate change. And not only are trees important to help us deal with climate change, but we have to take better care of our trees in the face of climate change because they are stressed out. They are stressed out from increased pests, from flooding, and from the increased impacts of heat. So we are really excited to join this Tree Equity Collaborative. The city has invested in the Office of Sustainability and Environment to partner with community organizations to create a tree equity canopy plan. So we're really going to be able to guide our investments, and with partnership from the state and the federal government and community leaders like DNDA and Duwamish Alive Coalition, we're really looking forward to building a truly emerald city that everyone can enjoy. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Mayor Harrell. Thank you once again.
She did all that without notes. The city has the best environmental director in the country, and I stand by that. Jad introduced Commissioner Franz as saying she's the quarterback. I love that. She has a strong ground game. She knows how to spread out the offense and branch them out to move ahead. I could do this all day, by the way, with the quarterback stuff. In all seriousness, we're very excited to join the leadership of Commissioner Franz. And I met Jad, we talked some time ago in a different environment, in a different state. And it's that kind of passion that's going to get this state and this city where we need to be with respect to tree equity, which I don't even think was a thing 20 years ago. And again, I'm just heartfelt when I look at the volunteers and the community activists and the employees that are doing this, because we are unashamedly tree huggers around this state. We also like to hug people too. And there's really nothing more beautiful when you see children playing around healthy tree canopy. Our most recent tree canopy cover assessment that Jessyn spoke about showed that we have more work to do to protect and grow our canopy. We start with the data. We're not afraid in this state and this city to open up with our data. Following that data and leading with equity, as Jad so eloquently spoke about, we quickly advanced our efforts to reverse that decline once we defined it, to open it up, the data, and support our Seattle's tree canopy. So last month, our administration issued an executive order, and many of Jessyn's team members are here. We issued an executive order to protect trees on public property while also addressing inequities in canopy distribution that are impacting historically underserved communities across our city. Some key components including creating what we call a One Seattle Tree Fund, which will fund new tree plantings in areas with low canopy cover. Now, this executive order that we issued will also expand public-private partnerships to support new innovative funding mechanisms to maintain and grow Seattle's urban forest on public lands. And again, I want to thank Jad for your advocacy nationwide, our commissioners, Franz's leadership, because it takes resources. That's a fancy way to say it takes money. But it ensures that any healthy tree removed from the city property under our executive order is replaced with 3 new trees. That's the data that's going to drive this equity work. This legislation we propose in partnership with the City Council will strengthen our city's tree ordinance and protect over 150,000 additional trees. Now, we know it's going to take many years to see gains in our canopy cover. When I talk about looking at all of our issues in our ecosystem, I talk about, yes, we want short-term wins. We'll take those short victories, quarterback. But we also will realize that this is a journey, and it's going to take these kind of partnerships between public and private action. Our urgency today reflects a healthier, greener Emerald City tomorrow. And if we do this the right way, these kids that we see playing will be behind this podium carrying on this legacy of work that we're doing. I'm very proud to partner with the Department of Natural Resources, American Forests, and community groups here to join the Washington Tree Equity Collaborative and sign our city, the City of Seattle, onto this pledge. So over the next 5 years, the city is going to be planting 8,000 trees on both public and private properties and over 40,000 trees in parks and natural areas. And I need you to applause on that because that's some serious work. I'm not afraid to ask for applause on that kind of data. I also want to thank the Mayor of Tacoma, Victoria Willards, for also signing on to this pledge, and we appreciate that partnership. Together, we will grow a healthy tree canopy across Washington, living up to our promise of being the evergreen state. And again, for those that have come out, I cracked a bad joke, and I'm sort of known for doing that in my life. And when Commissioner Franz or Jad was talking about global warming, I said, well, we could use a little of that global warming today because it is a little chilly. But in all seriousness, even the weather fluctuations we know is a direct result of what's happening to our planet. We know that. And in the work we're doing to not only hug our trees and hug our people is going to take this kind of commitment. Federal, state, localities working together, and most importantly, community. So thank you very much. And now we're going to hear, I believe, from a community leader. Yes. Willard, I believe, and Jan's going to do, you get on the introductions. You much better than me.
Thank you so much, Mayor Harrell. Again, another true national leader. We met each other at the South by Southwest event where he was sharing Seattle's incredible climate leadership, including with tree equity, with a national and actually even global audience. So just so grateful for the incredible work that you're doing. And I really want to underscore this really holistic vision that you laid out around tree protection, maintenance, and planting. It isn't any one of those things. It's all of the above. And so just to have a city that's taking that kind of comprehensive approach and doing it in such a science-based and data-driven way is an incredible model. And so again, this collaborative is a chance for all of us to learn from each other and really get those kind of best practices and approach to be the new normal for how we go about doing this kind of work. Well, I like to often say, I think really the foundation of the whole tree equity movement is community-based organizations. Those frontline organizations that are out there at the absolute ground level making this happen every single day and making sure that we're doing it in a way that's really rooted with community. And so I'm very excited to introduce Willard Brown with Duwamish Alive. Willard is a leader in the Duwamish Alive coalition. He's been part of the community engagement team with the coalition for a number of years now. And Willard has an incredibly deep history in community leadership here in Seattle. He worked at the Delridge Neighborhoods Development Association, where he served as the Director of Housing and Environmental Programs and supported the restoration of the Delridge wetland. He works for over 30 years at the Seattle Housing Authority and serves on the board of the Equitable Development Initiative, where he fights for investments in infrastructure in all neighborhoods, experiencing the displacement of cultural, structural, and environmental assets. And he's had a really key role in creating a dialogue in the community around the benefits of green infrastructure and focuses on wetland restoration and stewardship projects as a means of enhancing community stewardship and making connections to environmental education in schools. And so Duwamish Alive Coalition has a special event that's going to be taking place this Saturday. You can think of it kind of as a follow-on to today's discussion, a volunteer event here at the Rocks Hill Bog in conjunction with the Green Seattle Partnership that I'm sure he'll give you a little teaser about. But we're just so grateful that this effort includes partners like Duwamish Alive Coalition and many other community-based organizations, and that's really going to be the foundation of how we're going to make progress together. So Willard.
Thank you, and I want to welcome all of you to Delridge. This location here is a project in process. We are working on the restoration of the Rocks Hill Bog, which, if you cannot believe this, is drying out. I can remember when I first moved here to West Seattle, I used to bring my twins to the Westwood Village, and I would have them come over here and play in the park while I did my shopping, whatever. And then when they got back to the car, I would tell them, oh no, you cannot get in the car until you take those shoes off. Okay, you're not muddying up my mats and you're not making my car a muddy mess. So we used to have to put them in the trunk. Well, guess what? That is no longer the condition here. The situation has changed so much due to climate change and other factors that we have been working to restore and bring attention to the needs of this community and the needs of this specific location for the purpose of revitalizing it and restoring it for the future and for others coming along in the future. The Rocks Hill Bog is the headwaters of Longfellow Creek, right over here. Longfellow Creek is Delridge's Creek. It has one little tributary, Puget Creek, and those two waterways run through our neighborhoods and run through our backyards. And it is vital that the creek itself remains healthy and that the water levels within the creek rise because the creek level is lowering. And one of the ways we can do that is to actually increase tree canopy, whether it is in the parks, in neighborhoods, anywhere along the route of the creek would be great, would be a wonderful outcome. So with that, I want to say thank you to a number of folks. First and foremost, the Seattle Green Spaces Coalition. led the fight for restoration and preservation of green spaces all over District 1, in Georgetown, in South Park, here in Delridge. Seattle Green Spaces Coalition also championed the transition of the Myers parcels from to the public sector so that it could be preserved as green space. And that was done in 2016, and it languishes. It has not yet been transferred to the Parks Department. We went to work and supported the wetlands, Delridge Wetlands Project. That was my project, the last project I led while I was at Delridge Neighborhoods Development Association. And we're moving forward this year with an aggressive plan to actually complete the project. And the Delridge wetland is critical because it's there where community comes together on a number of fronts. It has the environmental factor, it has the education factor, it has partnership with the STEM school right down the street, it has the support of all the community, the neighbors and the like. And so it is a very important project, as they all are here in the Delridge corridor. The other project I would like to point out that is of vital importance is what's happening on the other side of this project. There is construction work planned for this year, and this project construction budget has been provided through the King County Waterworks program as well as through Boeing Foundation. So we have partnerships with Seattle Public Utilities, Seattle Parks and Recreation, King County Governance, Waterworks. We also have partnerships with Delridge Neighborhoods Development Association, who brings volunteers and coordinates activities with students in the area, with the Rocks Hill Elementary and with Seattle Public Schools in that effort. We have partnerships with Duwamish Alive and a partnership with the community itself. So this community is composed of people of color primarily, low-income people of color, and yet they come out here and they volunteer here. They live in the surrounding areas here, and they support this project wholeheartedly. And so we are looking forward to more investment in this project and in future projects that will address the issues of climate change, the health of Longfellow Creek, and the health of our community. Thank you.
Such gratitude for organizations like yours and volunteer-led efforts all across the country that, again, are just really the foundation of this work. And I want to really note that when that incredible new allocation of federal funding that I described was made, there was a lot of discussion around the importance of making sure that those funds are distributed equitably and deeply across the field to support organizations that are volunteer-led or partially volunteer-led, and making sure that more people are getting financially supported to do this kind of work so we can have equitable participation in driving it forward. So I want to close by I want to recognize a few special friends, partners, supporters who are here today. The REI Director of Government Affairs, Taldy Harrison, is in the crowd with us, as well as the REI State and Local Government Affairs Manager, Tom Bugert. Seattle City Council member Dan Straussley was not able to join us, but the mayor, I believe, mentioned him as a key partner in this work. Friends of Seattle's Urban Forests, a key partner, Tree Pack, the last 6,000. Christopher Williams, Deputy Superintendent of Parks for City of Seattle, a critical partner in doing this work. You've heard a few of the other commitments to the Washington State Tree Equity Collaborative mentioned, but I just want to mention them again. In addition to City of Seattle, the City of Tacoma, thank you, Mayor Willard, the Carl Maxey Center in Spokane, for the 300 Trees organization in Bellevue, and again, the Duwamish Alive Coalition, which we just heard from, critical folks who have, and organizations that have made commitments to this new Tree Equity Collaborative. And lastly, I would just like to give really profound thanks to our friends at Washington State DNR, who have just been incredible partners to American Forests in orchestrating this new development of this collaborative, and just so grateful to the City of Seattle for kind of coming in as an anchor partner to help us get this started. We've got really important work ahead of us. I maybe just ask if, in closing, just think for a minute about everything we've talked about and the profound importance of trees, and just give yourself a moment to imagine the neighborhoods that right now don't have this healing benefit, that don't have that cooling shade, that don't have that improved air quality, that don't have just the mental health and peace, serenity that comes from just looking up at a tree on a spring day. And just allow yourself to imagine every neighborhood having this blanket of beautiful, healthy trees spreading out so that we can all enjoy that. We can all have those life-giving benefits on a daily basis. That's what's at stake here. And we're going to make it happen in Washington State. We're going to lead the country and the world on how to get this done with the right kinds of partnerships. And so really grateful that you helped us all get this started the right way here today. And we're going to go put our sweat equity into tree equity and go do some mulching over there in a little bit if you want to come join us. Thanks so much.
We're happy to take some questions if people want to, or you guys can go get warm. It's up to you. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll just go ahead, sir. I have you right here. Hello.
Hi, friends.
I won't answer all of them, I'm sure.
I hope you will, actually.
I don't know.
So right now in the city's land use committee, council meeting of the city council, there is a proposal to increase construction area to 85% impervious surface, and that will kill all of the large trees if this proposal comes forward. Today in Olympia, there's a proposal to eliminate all single-family zoning, which will allow sixplexes on every single lot, which will reduce all of the large tree habitat in the state. So you're congratulating each other right now, but you have this killer process that is working against you based on private property owners' rights. Just love to get some comments back from you on that.
Sure. I'm going to reintroduce Director Farrell on this issue. And for those that didn't hear the question, one of the parts that resonated was some considerations that the Seattle City Council are considering with respect to surfaces and how this aligns or misaligns with our tree canopy. Perhaps Director Farrell could answer that component of the question.
Yep. I'm happy to root the answer in data, and also start by just talking a little bit about our values in Seattle. And I think Mayor Harrell stated this really clearly in his remarks, that there is no conflict. There is no inherent conflict between increasing our tree canopy and increasing our housing. Full stop. We need to do both, right? And so one of the things that is really important about the legislation that was transmitted to the council is that it is responsive to the data in the tree canopy assessment. And one of the things, there were two areas where tree canopy loss occurred at the greatest levels. One was on our public lands. This is why Mayor Harrell's executive order increases in investment, 3-to-1 plantings, protecting our trees, and increasing investment on public land. So our parks, natural areas were where we saw actually the greatest loss. The second area where we saw the greatest loss was in our neighborhood residential zones. And it wasn't as much due to development as it was because of trees coming down because of age and health, and because folks are taking trees down for a whole variety of reasons. And so where this legislation really is going to have positive impact is by tightening up regulations where someone can take down a tree. So it tightens that from the current looser regulations, and will actually increase more. There will be more increased trees protected. So that's really important. And then as far as the state legislation, we probably can have someone comment on that more thoroughly, but the legislation that's before the council, I believe, really threads that needle between increasing housing, which we have to do. It focuses on multifamily zones, which are a tiny portion currently of our city's zone land, and then really focuses, again, on those areas where the data is showing where we lost the most canopy cover. So happy to turn it over to the mayor if you want to add to that. But
No, that's a great answer. I think we all could agree.
I obviously am not involved in the legislation that's moving in Olympia, but I can talk to what Department of Natural Resources is doing since across the state in the context that, as I said, we have woefully underfunded urban forestry in our state for a long, long time. I have Ben and Jen, the Ben and Jen team here, who have been leading this effort, two of them, in all of our state to bring more resources to our cities. I think what needs to happen is not only leveraging the data and where are we woefully missing the mark when it comes to tree equity in every single neighborhood of our state, but also how do we help bring the tools and resources to our local governments when it comes to ordinances and policies around maintaining the trees we already have in our communities, coupled with also bringing the funding investments at the federal, state, and local level to those communities to ensure that we're gaining and growing more, even as we see a rapidly changing land use because of our housing crisis. As I think Jessyn said, we have to address both our housing crisis and our climate crisis, our tree crisis, and we believe they aren't mutually exclusive, but we have to be forward thinking. We have to understand how significant the problem is already today and put the policies in place to protect them while putting these significant investments going forward in every corner of the state. Other questions?
Any more friendly questions? Okay, 3, 2, 1, Seattle. We're going to do some work. Let's do it.
Thank you all.